Ladies and gentlemen, damas y caballeros, welcome to Between the Corners.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to the 6th episode of Between the Corners. I'll be your host, Josue, and I'm going to be hosting alone today, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. Today, we're going to be talking about UFC 308, a great event that's happening this weekend, and fight fans in the States, do not forget this card starts early. So the main card actually starts at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. If you are looking to see the prelims, those actually start at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. So be aware of that, wherever time zone you're in. I let you know the Eastern. You know where, what your time compares to the Eastern Time. So let's go ahead and jump right into the fights. I'm actually pretty excited for this one. Some great fights that I want to see. Great potential in competitive bouts, or exciting things happening. The first fight of the main card is going to be with Shara Magomedov versus Armen Petrosyan. I might be pronouncing that right. Petrosyan. Anyways, let's go ahead and go into that fight. So that fight for me, it's the beginning of the main card. It's a good fight. You have a young man from Russia and Shara that has some hype behind him, especially because of his story, and he only has one eye. Yet so far, he's been undefeated in the UFC. It is early days though. This is actually going to be his third fight in the UFC, and it's actually going to be his third fight this year. So he's been fighting in the UFC since 2024. But he does have a lot of hype behind him. I know there's a bunch of wrestlers coming out of Russia, but this is actually a stand-up fighter from Russia. He mainly fights, standing. So this is gonna be a good bout. I feel like it's gonna show us how good he really is, or it's gonna give us more of an idea of how good he really is. Now, no offense to Armin, I mean he's just another opponent in front of him for him to show us what he has. I don't feel like this is actually like a huge test for Shara, but it'll still be able to allow him to show us a little bit more of his skill set or how dominant he could be moving up. So for this fight, I'm not too sure who to say I would see winning the fight, only because we haven't seen enough of Shara to be able to say, how he would do. Also, we haven't seen enough of Shara to say how Armin would do against a fighter like Shara. So honestly, I don't know who would win this fight. I think Shara has the more potential of winning the fight. So if I had to put money on it, it'll be for Shara, or it'll be for Shara to win the fight. Moving on to our next fight, we got Lerone Murphy versus Dan Ige. Now, for fight fans, we know Dan Ige. He's been around in the UFC since I think around 2018. And then for Lerone Murphy, he's more of an up and comer. So far, he's only had 6 fights in the UFC. His UFC debut was a draw, and then since then, he's been winning all his fights. So this is going to be an interesting fight to watch. I think this will be a test for Murphy, just because of Dan's experience. Not so much Dan's skill set, but it will be because of Dan's experience. Like, he is still capable to stand in there with good fighters. So Murphy will be able to show us, what he has to offer with someone who has so much experience in the UFC or in the fight game. More than likely, this is going to be another striking battle. I know there's a lot of good wrestlers out there and a lot of dominant wrestlers out there, but I mean, we all have to be honest with ourselves. Whenever striker versus striker, that always makes it for a more exciting fight than a wrestling bout. So I'm excited to see, what Lerone Murphy has against somebody this experienced. And then it could kind of even show us if he'll be a good contender for the belt in a few fights from now, because he is undefeated now. If he stays undefeated and moves up in level of competition, we'll more than likely see him fighting for the belt here in the next 1 to 2 years. So this is going to kind of give us an idea if he's at that level to be able to at some point fight for the belt. So that's why I'm excited to see this fight with Lerone Murphy versus Dan Ige. So for this fight, I do have Lerone Murphy winning. I don't know a round, but I do definitely have Lerone Murphy winning. All right, now let's go ahead and move it along to the third fight of the main card. Now, this one I'm excited for. This isn't a fight that I'm looking to see, like an up and comer, seeing what he has to offer. No, no, no. This is going to be two ranked fighters going against each other. And if Alex Pereira decides to stay in light heavyweight to defend his title, I'm pretty sure that the winner of this fight will be his next opponent, which makes it that much more exciting to see who's going to be the next contender for the belt. So for this fight, we have number 2 ranked fighter Magomed Ankalaev versus the number 5 ranked fighter in Alexander Rakic. Both of these fighters have, proven themselves. They are some scary strikers. Honestly, I'm just, as a fight fan, I'm excited to watch this fight and seeing how it goes. I don't think it's gonna make it to decision. My pick is going to be that Ankalaev stops him in the second round. It could be sooner than the second round, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be in the second round. At least that's what my opinion is. So, like I mentioned, the winner of this fight, I believe, will be the next opponent for Alex Pereira in light heavyweight. If Alex Pereira decides to fight in light heavyweight for his next fight to defend that belt, this fight is going to give us his next opponent. So we have Alexander Rakic, which honestly, he's on a comeback, so he has something to prove. He This is a fight where he can prove to us that he is still a contender for the belt, because he hasn't fought much in the last 2 years, and I think it's the last two fights that he's fought, he's lost. Now, it wasn't against nobodies; it was against Yuri. And then, of course, he also lost against Jan Blachowicz. I think it was in 2022. So he's only had two fights since 2022. So he is on the comeback, so that always makes a fighter more exciting. He has a lot to fight for. And on the other hand, you have Ankalaev, who has had two fights since 2022 as well, but he's won by KO in both of those fights. His last loss was actually in 2018. He only has one loss in MMA, and then of course he only has one no contest. So, you have somebody in, like I mentioned, in Rakic trying to prove that he's still a contender, and then we have Ankalaev who's trying to prove that, hey, that belt should be mine already. Because because of his MMA record so far. So this is going to be an exciting fight. Now, the next fight is going to be the co-main event of the evening. A potential banger in this fight. We have Robert Whitaker versus Hamshat Chimaev. I'm excited for this one. This is another one that I'm excited for, because I was excited for the last one. I'm excited for this one as well. And we have Robert Whitaker fighting in it, who was the champion in this class in middleweight. He had his reign as the champion, and then we have Khamzat Chimaev, who is 13-0 in his MMA career. He is, everybody. There's a lot of hype behind him. I feel like he is the heel in this fight. If you don't know what a heel is, like it's in wrestling especially, it is the bad guy in the fight. I think Hamshat Chimaev is that. And then we have Robert Whitaker, who's the good guy, who has been fighting in the UFC for a while, who is trying to make another run for the belt. I do believe that he has that chip on his shoulder right now. Like, if he doesn't win this fight, people, and even probably Robert Whitaker, will be asking, what do you do now? Obviously, if he's a fighter and loves fighting, he'll probably keep fighting, but he probably won't ever see gold again if he doesn't win this fight. So he has a lot to prove in this fight. I believe he has to prove to us that he's still in it. He still can be champ. And honestly, if he goes through Chimaev, I believe either his next fight or the next could be for the belt. Same thing for Hamzat, though. if he wins this fight, he's been on a winning streak. I say winning streak, he's undefeated. So, if he wins this fight, his next fight or the one after this is going to be for the belt. This fight is going to be exciting. They're going to go at it. Honestly, it's going to show us how Shemaev can do with Robert Whitaker type fighting. And at that caliber, like this is going to be a great test for Shemaev. I know he's already fought Usman and he's fought Gilbert Burns and all that, but this is just yet another test. I know Robert Whitaker and Shemaev were supposed to fight earlier this year. I think it was in June. Shemaev did get ill, very ill, according to his team, and he had to pull out. And then Robert Whitaker, he still fought. He still fought somebody. He got the KO win. I think it was in the first round versus his opponent. So he's been active. So I'm really excited to see this fight. I think, in my opinion, again, my mind and my heart are battling each other in this fight because my heart, as a fight fan and as a Robert Whitaker fan, I want him to win. I obviously he has a skill to win, but he's going against a monster in Shemaev. So my brain is telling me, well, are you sure about the pick for Robert Whitaker? But I don't care. I'm going to choose Robert Whitaker winning the fight. Not sure in what fashion. I'm going to choose Robert Whitaker for the win, even though he's the underdog. Underdog is going to take the co-main event. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes on Saturday night. But yeah, this is going to be a fight just like the last one. This is going to be a fight that I believe will choose a potential next opponent for middleweight for the middleweight champion in Dricus du Plessis. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. And now for the main event of the evening, we have Ilia Topuria versus Max Holloway. This is going to be yet another exciting fight. This is going to be the excitement of the night, or has the potential to be the excitement of the night. Even though we have all those exciting fights happening before, this one is going to be great. We have the younger, explosive Ilia Topuria, the champion, just beat Volkanovski for the belt. And then we have Max Holloway, which is a seasoned veteran of the UFC, has great technique, has been in there with the toughest opponents in that class and other weight classes. This is going to be I'm going to be at the edge of my seat for this fight. And then there's also some bad blood. There's been words going back and forth. You can tell they have mutual respect for each other, though. Even though they have, they've been exchanging words. And Ilia Topuria has challenged Max Holloway to meet him in the middle of the ring for the first 10 seconds of the fight. So, you know how Max Holloway against Justin Gaethje at the end, he pointed to the ground and said, "Let's go." Ilia wants to do that in the first 10 seconds of the fight. Now, that does make for an exciting event, or an exciting first 10 seconds of the fight, but not a smart thing for either fighter, honestly. So Max has good technique and good skill and a great chin. So he can stand there and bang and hurt Topuria. So not smart for Topuria. On the other hand, not smart for Max Holloway to do it either, because Ilia has great power and he has great striking. So, as exciting as it would be as a fight fan, not a smart thing to do for either fighter. Will it happen? We'll see Saturday night, but I don't think it should happen, because even if one of them gets the better of the other and knocks the person out, like, you're not really proving much. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just went in there and bagged real quick, and that's it. You're not really showcasing your skills much for either of the fighters. So I think they shouldn't do it, but we'll see. Maybe they'll do it and still survive, and then continue on with the fight and give us an exciting fight. Now, for this fight, besides the the first 10 seconds, man, this is going to be a battle of striking as well. So it's going to be super exciting. So we have Max Holloway, who's been in there with the some of the best, and he's even fought Volkanovski 3 times, which was the former champ. Ilia Topuria did KO him. Max has said, of course, his opinions about that. Like that wasn't like the same Volkanovski that he's fought. Volkanovski had just came off of a loss, and it wasn't that far after or that long after that he's fighting Topuria. So there's a lot of other factors that Max thinks that went into Ilya's win against Volk. So we'll see, man. You know, we know Max has a great chin. We know he has great skill. We know Topuria has great skill as well. He is a younger fighter, so we haven't seen him as much as we've seen Max. So this is going to be a very exciting main event. My pick for this fight, I have to go with Max Holloway. I got to go with my heart. And also, you know, my brain is in there as well, again, because of his technique, his experience. I believe everything that Max has in his bag of skills compared to Ilya's is going to prevail in that fight. However, you know, it's still going to be a huge if. I wouldn't put money on this fight because Topuria does have that power. He is the younger fighter. He is, you know, he is I believe, a more explosive fighter than Max. So I'm like I said, my pick is Max. If I was a betting man, though, I just wouldn't bet on this fight. But yeah, man, it's gonna be a great fight, a great event. Several potentials for fight of the night in the main card. So we'll see. At the end of the day, just want to see some great events. Whether my picks win or not, just want to see a great event, great fights, and hopefully we all enjoy Saturday night. And I keep saying Saturday night. I just noticed that again, fight fans. Remember, well, it's gonna be Saturday night in Abu Dhabi, I believe. But again, fight fans in the States, this card, the main card, starts at 2 p.m. Eastern time. Do not forget, 2 p.m. Eastern time in the States. This fight, Saturday afternoon. So that's all for this episode, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. And of course, if you do let us know what you're thinking, as we always say, give us some details in your opinion, so we can kind of maybe even have a back and forth conversation with you all. And follow us on our social media platforms. On Instagram and on TikTok, it's going to be Between the Corners Pod. And then on X, it's going to be Between Corners. Honestly, on X, I have not been very active, but I will start being more active on X. Still follow us there. Thank you all for the people who are already following us there. And of course, follow us on TikTok and on Instagram if you haven't already. So yeah, so again, thank you so much for the love and the support. Hopefully you have a great rest of your day, morning, evening, night, whatever it is when you're watching this. Thank you so much for everything. Obrigado. Merci. Grazie. Whatever else language you speak. Maybe we'll learn some more thank yous. But until then, that's all we have. That's all I have to offer. But yeah, God bless you all. Hopefully we'll see y'all next week. Pasa fuera.